Hello. Here are myths and truths about Russia. Sometimes we hear and see so many striking, odd and new things about Russia on TV or in newspapers or from the people we meet, that I think I'm missing something. Really, it turns out I live at such a dangerous place, which is ruled by authoritarian regime, flooded with mafiosi, catastrophes, bombings happening all the time, with deadly cold winters, demolished economy, depressed people. I'm really surprised I'm still alive and living here. The point is that all those things about Russia are either not true or very much exaggerated. Myth number 1, Russia is an orthodox, conservative police state. Truth, there are a lot of people with orthodox and conservative beliefs, and yes, Russia is one of the most heavily policed countries in the world. However, think about the other facts. Russia had the most revolutions in the last 100 years than most progressive countries of the West. Russia dispensed ideologies like trends, monarchy to communism to democracy, Wild West style to the sovereign democracy of today. Russian society is anything but conservative and orthodox. Russians love experiments. They are also traumatized by them, and that's why sometimes, in the times of uncertainty, they grasp religion and brute force to make sense of the crumbling world around. Besides, Russians hate rules, so even though police is there, the sense of freedom is much higher than anywhere else in the world. As we say, the strictness of the Russian law is compensated by the lack of necessity to follow it. Myth number 2, Russia is full of mafia and it's dangerous here. Truth, really. Many people think that Russia is someplace filled with mafia and it's so dangerous to come here. Well, there is mafia, but the Wild West 90s are left in the 20th century. Nowadays it's like any place in the world, and Russia is not more dangerous than anywhere else. If you know where to stay, keep away from the bad places, do your normal traveler's things and practice your normal traveler's safety, you'll be okay. You can only have contact with criminals when you're into something illegal, like buying or selling drugs, or are really looking for trouble. Really, think about it, why would anybody have problems because of you? The mafiosi spend all their time making business, the gangs spend all their time dealing with each other, so you certainly will not experience any of that. Also, there's so much police on the streets of Moscow, it seems like the safest place in the world. Definitely places like New York and some areas of London are much more dangerous. There's no gang crime in Moscow, only serious stuff. Also, you should know about so-called gopniki. These are the working-class youngsters hanging out in the poor neighborhoods. Back in the 90s they could be a real nuisance, but these days they are more like endangered species. Myth number 3, it's a real hassle to travel to Russia, too much effort and paperwork. Truth, if you know how it's done then it's no problem. All the paperwork you need are your passport and an invitation from Russia. It's easy now to get the invitation, and you don't need to book a hotel for the whole period of your stay. The invitations can be made through hotels, hostels, which will ask you to book one night, or travel agencies, which will ask only your money, and the price in both cases will be $25, $35 US for an invitation. The invitation can be sent to you by fax or email. After you received the invitation, or its copy, you just need to bring it to Russian consulate to get your visa. A Russian visa costs around $50, $60 US. For this price it's ready in 14 days, and if you pay more it takes only 1 day to process. Actually, while we're at it, let's do some covert advertisement. You can get the invitation online through the companies listed on Way to Russia. You get 100% reliable and fast service, we get some commission from them, so we can continue building the site. It's like donating to Charity Smile. Now, some people say it's too long and expensive to get here, but if you travel to Eastern Europe, Russia is really close and not expensive to get to. Besides, since a few years several no-frills budget airlines have regular flights to Moscow from Germany and from Italy. So, a return flight to Moscow from Berlin may cost you only €100 if you book early. Otherwise, a ticket from most European capitals costs $350 US return, and if you're on a tight budget, you can get one of those EasyJet or Ryanair flights from London or Berlin to Riga, Latvia, or Tallinn, Estonia, and then get a bus or a train to Russia for $10.25 US. Myth number 4, there are so many catastrophes and bombings, I will die. Truth, not more than anywhere else. It's just that Russia is a very big country and its size is like both Europe's and United States. Do you think there are more disasters happening in Russia than in the whole Europe and United States together? Myth number 5, okay, but what about Chechnya and the terrorists? Truth, you might be thinking more about it than we do, really. Of course, it's sad that the situation in Chechnya is unstable and we regularly get reports about people being murdered there in some sort of small local conflicts, mostly between the local centers of power, but however cynical it sounds, we got used to it. People live their lives and try to be as happy as they can. Unfortunately for most Russians, Chechnya is like a bad dream. It affects you, but it's so far from your reality that you tend to forget about it. Chechnya seems to be very far away, and unless you travel there, you most probably will hear about it only on the news. There are occasional terrorist attacks still, but nobody knows if the Chechen guerrillas, who often assume responsibility, were really involved or just use the events to promote their agenda. Nowadays, a terrorist attack always has a chance to happen in other country, so in this sense it is as dangerous as anywhere else nowadays, unfortunately. We think that actually it would help a lot if the attention in the media shifted from the political aspect of the problem towards the social one. There are a lot of people without a shelter, lots of orphans left after the war. If all the propaganda effort goes towards humanitarian causes, we believe it will do much more good than constantly talking about the fragile peace and the means through which it was achieved. Myth number 6, the economy is destroyed and not at all diversified. Russia has no future. Truth, the funny thing is that 2 years ago we'd just say it's not true. Look how fast the GDP is growing, look at the millions of people who managed to climb from the poverty in the last few years. Well, nowadays things are quite different. After the financial crisis hit the country, it became very obvious that you can't build a solid economy on natural resources, like oil and gas. On one side it made things quite unstable again. On the other side, many people finally got a kick in their ass and started to do something about innovation rather than thinking about it. The bottom line is that Russia still has a huge human resource potential. Even though the education is hopelessly outdated, the economy is hopelessly dependent on the outside markets and not at all diversified. We still have small grassroots initiatives here and there that keep Russia on the international map, for example, DANB.ru below. If the society, and through it, the government, realizes that it should nurture these attempts and give resources to talented and passionate people instead of bureaucrats, we'll see a very fast rise and diversification of the economy.